The way in which we rate tornadoes is completely broken. We relied on a flawed system to define the most powerful storms on Earth, and it's failing us. Tornado after tornado has been underrated. From El Reno, Rolling Fork to Mayfield, something has to change. But then came Enderlin, the first EF5 tornado in 13 years. So are we finally moving in the right direction? Today, I'm gonna break it all down alongside some of the most experienced storm chasers in the world. What's wrong with this system and what is it gonna take to fix it? Let's get into it. The video starts right now. Now, before we talk about what's wrong, let's understand how it works today. Now, the Enhanced Fujita scale, or the EF scale, came operation around February 1 of 2007. Now, this rating system rates tornadoes from a 0 to 5 scale, with 0 being the weakest and 5 being the strongest. And that rating is based upon a wind speed. And that wind speed is solely based upon damage done by a tornado. What typically happens here, you get a survey team from the National Weather Service that goes out and looks at the damage. It looks for these things called DI indicators, or damage indicators. Things like the damage of houses and malls, buildings, and even trees. And in total, there's 28 different damage indicators that are all used to determine the wind speed, which then determines the strength. And according to meteorologist Jennifer Watson, there's only a certain number of indicators that go into rating a tornado in EF5.
Even with bringing on, the Enhanced Fujita scale, which started in 2007, that has limited us some. Yes, we have more damage indicators. Currently, there's 28 damage indicators. 5 of those are only for the EF5 rating.
It sounds good in theory, right? Here's where it starts to fall apart. The EF scale, the rating system for tornadoes today, only rates what a tornado hits. Let's say you got a monster wedge in the middle of a field with EF5 winds. That tornado is not going to get rated in EF5 because there's no damage to measure.
Because if the tornado doesn't hit one of the key, damage indicators, DIs, then it may not get rated what it should get rated.
And that brings us to Enderlin, North Dakota, where a tornado on the night of June 20th of 2025 swept through the state, and storm chaser Aaron Rigsby was there.
But being a little bit further away, I wasn't, because of how the storm had just looked, I wasn't totally sure that it was a tornado out of the rip. Then once we started blasting north and getting closer to it, and more lightning starting to illuminate those left and right edges, and it kept shifting in different shapes about every lightning flash, that's when it was pretty obvious that it was a very violent tornado.
Now, Enderlin was first rated an EF3 tornado, but was later upgraded to an EF5 after the National Weather Service got pictures in from Aaron about a set of rail cars that were flipped over and flung in the air.
The main thing why they wanted to reassess this tornado and the damage was the terrain.
But when I put the drone up 300 feet in the air and I was surveying all of that field to see if I could see any kind of drag marks, impacting points, to see if it hit and bounced, which the fact that this tornado was able to chuck that train car, empty or not, that far off of the tracks without any impact points, it put a whole new scale of what this tornado was capable of.
And after Aaron took that drone video, he started getting contacted from the National Weather Service. Once they got his videos, they decided to take a closer look.
I knew something of this tornado was coming because the NWS from Grand Forks had been emailing me like 2 or 3 different times throughout this whole process, specifically asking me for more drone videos and pictures of the train itself. So I thought for sure that it was about to get upgraded to an EF4. 3 or 4 more days had gone by, and all of a sudden I just got flooded with my emails of media requests asking for the train video, and then get flooded with all these Facebook messages saying that an EF5 had been confirmed.
Now, when Enderlin was rated an EF5, there were a lot of people pissed off. Aaron Rigsby tells us why.
I talked to some of the surveyors that, eventually upgraded Enderlin, and I straight up asked, why was this one the drought buster? And I didn't get any definitive answer from that. I think that's what's building a lot of the frustration, not only in the weather world, but from a lot of, just weather enthusiasts that follow this. And it's the way that the system is supposed to work is this isn't supposed to matter if it's 1 indicator or 7 indicators of EF5 damage. All that is supposed to matter is if it hits a structure, does EF5 damage, it should get an EF5 rating.
Brad also weighed in.
I'm not saying that I don't think this was an EF5. I do think this was an EF5, actually. But my argument is that I think there are quite a few others that, if we're going by this designation that Enderlin was given, should have been EF5 as well. Just naming a couple off the top of my head, like Rolling Fork, Mayfield.
That was Brad's point. Yes, Enderlin was an EF5, but there are many other cases of tornadoes like Mayfield, like Rolling Fork, and even El Reno probably should have gotten that EF5 rating. And Jen and Storm Chaser Jordan Hall both agree.
I think every meteorologist can agree, or most anyway, that we've had EF5 strength tornadoes, before this. They just haven't been labeled that.
We all know this year we've seen multiple tornadoes that had EF5 strength but might not have done EF5 damage. There is definitely high-end EF5 wind speeds in a lot of these tornadoes, but they didn't per se do the damage. So,
and one of those tornadoes was the catastrophic Mayfield tornado, which was only rated an EF4. And Storm Chaser Brad Arnold was there.
You can see that train cars were actually thrown uphill. And I think that they weren't rolled. Those were thrown uphill, whether they're empty or not. There's trees that are debarked. There's the sandpaper effect. I mean, what you can't tell is there were other houses that were next to that. You can see a car that's completely flipped over and trees that are completely debarked. And you can actually see part of the sidewalk. I don't know if you can tell from the picture or not, but part of the sidewalk, it actually ripped some of the sidewalk.
Here you have a case, the Mayfield tornado. Devastating damage like Brad was showing, but no EF5 rating. What's the issue? What's going on here? Brad Arnold says it's inconsistencies in the way we perceive the damage indicators.
I just wish from a consistency standpoint, we had a better way of doing that. I don't know if it's inconsistency with the people that are doing the surveys. It's frustrating because you'll have an EF5 damage indicator. And then all of a sudden you'll say, well, this shrub bush isn't knocked over.
Yeah.
Like, come on. Are we really I don't like how we're cherry picking this. If it's an EF5, call it an EF5.
And this has been a problem ever since they overhauled it back in 2007.
Even though the Enhanced Fujita scale was brought on to improve forecasting, if you look over since 1950, I think there's been about 60 EF5 tornadoes. The majority of those happened between the 50s, 60s, and 70s. Then it kind of, has dropped off a little bit. We've seen less since that point in time, or at least it's rated less, but there's likely a lot more than that.
And Storm Chaser Brandon Kopic agrees. This has been a problem for a while.
Many tornadoes have likely been EF5 in the last, 12 years or so. But it's just a matter of the damage indicators. I agree with Jen. It's very difficult to see, like Greenfield, where Dow data measured over 300-mile-an-hour winds, and it's still an EF4.
And Connor Croft argues the issue is with the DI, the damage indicators.
It's insane that you have tornadoes that do unexplainable things, like Chapman with the railroad tracks, or Rolling Fork with the freezer, and because they don't have a DI, a specific damage indicator point for that on what that should be, it completely breaks the scale, so they rate it lower. Like, how does that even make sense scientifically? And I think that's a big reason why people care in the first place, is because most of it just doesn't make sense.
Human bias also could be a part of this.
I don't think it's an unreasonable take to say that if Enderlin happened in a different National Weather Service office and through the same train car, another National Weather Service wouldn't have put in the same effort to get an EF5 rating. If it would have happened another one after 3 days, it would have got an EF4, boom, it's done. They don't re-explore it. And that's where there's too much human bias involved in the process. There shouldn't be different ratings because one National Weather Service office put more time and effort into it.
Another issue with the system is the difference in speed of the tornado. Get a slower moving tornado that sits over the same spot, you're likely to have more damage, versus a faster tornado that could be just as strong, but it doesn't do as much damage. Jen Watson explains.
Thinking about the forward speed of a tornado also plays a part in it, right? Because the 1997 F5 Gerald tornado in Texas was moving at a forward speed of about 9 miles per hour, whereas Mayfield was moving at highway speeds, right? Like 55, 60 miles per hour. So the dwell time over a house, the more a tornado sits over a house or the same structure, the more damage is going to happen.
So this system is clearly broken, with not enough tornadoes being rated EF5 when they probably should be. So where do we go from here? How are we going to solve this? Storm Chaser Jordan Hall thinks this is the first step in the right direction.
Seeing how they rated this tornado, I'm actually very happy that this was able to get upgraded the way it did, because that might be the what I believe is the first domino going forward, being able to get a more accurate rating.
Aaron Rigsby agrees. This is a good first step.
I think this is a very promising step in the right direction of what we have been looking for the Enhanced Fujita scale.
The National Weather Service is aware of this problem. It does seem like tweaks are coming.
This has been confirmed for several years now that tweaks are coming to the Enhanced Fujita scale. There's going to be upgrades to that. And I personally think that the reason this was upgraded to an EF5 was I think this is kind of the trial run of those new upgrades that they have been discussing about including those no damage indicators that aren't in the formal Enhanced Fujita scale.
So what solution is the right solution? Should we go back and re-rate tornadoes from the past?
I would like for them, like maybe if we chose 5 to go back to, because I really think like...
Which 5, Jen? Which 5? Rattle them off. And Jordan says need to do that for history's sake.
The most important thing in my mind is right now we have 12 years of bad data where you have no EF5s when there clearly could have been, definitely were EF5s. You got to do something to get rid of the black hole that now exists of bad data in the terms of the rating system. 100 to 200 years from now, you're going to look back and be like, why was there not EF5s between 2013 and 2025?
So how do you pick what tornadoes you go back and re-rate?
I don't see them going back and upgrading previous tornadoes of the past simply for, one, all the controversy that this has transpired. And then if we do that for, say, Rolling Fork, Mayfield, and all of these other tornadoes that probably are EF5s that didn't get properly rated EF5s, it just opens a whole new can of worms that I don't think that they are going to want to deal with in the long run.
If we need to go back and re-rate storms, I don't necessarily agree with that. I would love to see that, but when does it stop?
I personally don't think they'll go back and relook at things, even though they should.
Going back and looking at past cases, all you're doing is introducing bias to the sample set. It's an answer going forward. It should be an answer going backward.
So what about the system as a whole? What's the key change that needs to be made?
You have to factor in the wind speeds that are measured.
They need to balance out the wind speeds collected and the damage indicators and combine them together.
You're never going to get an accurate rating from just damage alone.
You can't base it strictly off of the Dow data.
You can't base it off of the damage alone or the wind speed alone.
The way we rate tornadoes has got to be a combination of both. The damage that tornado does plus the wind speeds we can measure. And we've seen significant improvements in radar technology. Let's use the wind speeds from those, like the Dow.
With the radar data, that's certified data. That's something they calibrate. They make sure it's working. They test it every single day. That is a good source of data.
And I also think, and this is the Greenfield tornado, that even if there is an area that it could be technically too high, I'm sorry, but if you're getting winds of 315 miles an hour, even if you chop 100 miles an hour off of that, you're still dealing with an EF5.
In the future, when they revise it, they'd be willing to look into certified data, such as the Dow, to include that. Because we know if that would have been included, then El Reno would have officially been an EF5.
Radar technology and the Dow and local radars have gotten so good now at picking up wind speed. So it's shooting up into the storm. If it's saying the 350 mile per hour wind, then okay, if you take 100 miles an hour off that, it's still 250.
We just need an updated scale where wind speeds from the Dow or something that's certified can play a factor into it, and it's not just the damage.
It's clear. The solution has got to be a combination of both. And things have got to change.
So at least just be consistently wrong. It's better than knowing you're wrong and then doing nothing about it. You're like, yeah, I mean, we're wrong. And you throw the rating and then that's why people are pissed. Like, if it were just consistent, there was a consistent process that every National Weather Service office followed, they all put the same amount of time and effort into it, then there would be much less outrage.
To any NWS employees watching this, we're on your side. This is not an attack. You know what we know. We're all on the same team. Let's get this solved together.
Just want to add a little note to what Brady was saying. Yeah, if anyone's ever watching this, we're not attacking anybody or, adding anybody.
I'm sure there's National Weather Service, people that are watching this right now, as much as maybe they want to do certain things, maybe their hands are tied too. We don't fully understand what it is like for them.
At the end of the day, too, we don't necessarily know what goes on and what they're allowed to do in their office.
Time for some final thoughts.
Completely agree with what everybody has said on here. I think we have a good idea of what needs to be done and what can be done. I just hope.
Will it be done? That's the question.
That's the $1 million question. And I'm hopeful. And I've talked to a lot of the guys on this panel. about this, and I'm hoping that Enderlin is the start of something where we are putting more effort into the surveys and not nitpicking as much, but call a spade a spade. If it's an EF5, let's call it an EF5. Let's not cherry pick and say why it's not. Let's say why it is.
Moving forward from here, I think this has brought up enough of people talking about it, and with the DIs and everything and how, you know, the system works, that this is going to bring about change. And I think positive change and hopefully more accurate change, because so many of us are talking about it, even here right now.
Science and the scientific processes needs to be an ever-changing thing as we learn and discover new information and new processes. So I think this is a good thing. This is going to move us in the right direction, hopefully, and maybe it won't, but eventually it will have to. So sooner or later, I think it will.
We're all trying to get on the same page. We're saying our opinions, and we're pretty much just all trying to draw a conclusion here on how things can get better and improve and benefit everybody.
So we know there's a problem, and it sounds like they're working on a solution. I hope this discussion helps further that solution. I think we're all going in the right direction. Thank you all for watching. Make sure you smash that like button and smash that subscribe button. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Find someone, tell them you love them, tell them you care about them, do something nice for someone today. Stormcat5, and I'll see you on the next one. Raise your hand if you think that we need to have some sort of changes in the EF rating system.